Almost every Korean man has heard it at least once. The ghost-catching Marines. Behind those few words sits a legendary sentence said to have been written by an American woman reporter. But in 2024, the military combed through the original newspaper archives themselves. The result was shocking. That article was nowhere to be found. Stay to the end and you'll learn who the nickname truly belongs to. First, the story we thought we knew. In the summer of 1950, an American war correspondent visited the Marine positions in Tongyeong. Marguerite Higgins, a woman reporter for the New York Herald Tribune. She is said to have written this: "They might capture even the devil." The headline, "Ghost-Catching Marines." For more than 70 years, we believed this single line was where the nickname began. But here, one decisive clue appears. The newspaper Higgins worked for shut down in 1966. In that process, much of its old archive was lost. As for that famous article itself, no one had ever actually seen the original. Even two former Marine commandants recorded different origins in their memoirs. And so, the legend traveled from mouth to mouth, with no source to anchor it. So the military decided to settle it themselves. The Marine Corps Research Institute went through the old newspapers, page by page. Not just August, when the Tongyeong Landing took place, but the original July and September issues as well. They were searching for one thing only, that sentence about capturing even the devil. Then, in May 2024, the findings were delivered. The article Higgins supposedly wrote was not found at all. The result led to a quiet but clear correction. The Marine Corps removed the origin story from its official channels. The Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs erased it from its records too. Even the Memorial Hall in Tongyeong took the phrase down. It was the moment a legend that had held for 70 years collapsed before a single thorough investigation. But a more important question remains. If the source is murky, does that make the nickname false? No. What created the nickname was not an article, but the battle itself. In August 1950, North Korean forces had swallowed 90% of the country in a single month and were pressing toward Busan. The enemy holding Tongyeong planned to push through Gojae Island into Masan, Jinhae, and Busan. At the very moment the nation's last stronghold was shaking, one unit turned its boats the other way, straight toward enemy lines. The commander was Colonel Kim Sung-un. The order was to defend the western coast of Gojae Island, in other words, to hold the line. But he judged that rather than merely defending, it would be better to land directly and wipe out the enemy. Given an order to defend, he proposed an attack. Commandeering civilian fishing boats, he began landing his troops at Jangpyeong-ri from 6 o'clock on the evening of August 17th. No helmets, sneakers on their feet, a single M1 rifle each. That was all they had. The enemy, convinced the army would come straight at the harbor, moved its forces to the wrong place. The Marines drove into that gap. They seized Wonmun Pass, the gateway and key strategic point of Tongyeong, and cut off the North Korean advance. Hand-to-hand fighting broke out. There were many days with no food, and they held on with rice balls the villagers made for them. And the result? 469 enemy killed, 83 taken prisoner. An overwhelming victory. There's a reason this operation was special. It was the first landing the Korean military pulled off entirely on its own, and the only attack that pushed forward on a front that had done nothing but retreat. It came a full month before the Incheon landing. In a summer when defeat was the norm, Tongyeong gave the army its first proof that victory was possible. The nickname was born on top of this fact, not on a single line of newsprint. So the true owner of the Ghost-Catching Marines was never a defunct newspaper, nor a vanished article. It was the men who turned their boats toward the enemy without helmets, and the people of Tongyeong who pressed rice balls into their hands. The source of the legend has faded, but the fact that made the legend remains sharp and clear. Real history is written not by articles, but by actions. And right now, whose legend are we forgetting the true owner of? If you're curious about the next content, please subscribe and like. Please set the notification.